So you want to start a videography business, but you're not exactly sure where to start. Maybe you've got your camera settings all dialed in and you love to produce great videos, but you're not sure how to attract clients and take the next right step. The truth is, it's more than just shooting great videos, but it's about turning your skills into an actionable, real business. In this episode, I sit down with Jason Hylton. He is the founder of Good Look Productions, and we talk about the skills that are needed for beginner videographers to build their business step by step and turn their side hustle into a full-time career. You're gonna love this episode. Let's go. Hey everybody, welcome back to Making Varsity. My name is Brad, and today I am with Jason Hylton. He is the founder of Good Look Productions. Come on, out of the Queen City, Charlotte, North Carolina. Jason, what's up, man? Thanks for being here.
What's going on? What's going on, Brad? I appreciate you having me, man. And I'm looking forward to this conversation today, bro.
100%. So listen, we want to talk a little bit about videography and specifically of, man, how do you get into videography as a beginner and what's the step-by-step journey to building out a videography business? So first of all, talk to us a little bit about your journey into videography. How did you start Good Look? What's been your journey up to this point?
Yeah, so I got started in videography because of my background in music. So I'm a Christian hip hop artist. And at the time, this was in 2010, 2011, I was recording a mixtape and I bought some studio equipment. I learned how to mix, master my own records. And then I was like, man, I need a music video. You know, if you're a rapper, every rapper needs a music video. So I went out and I bought a camera. Since I taught myself how to use studio equipment, I figured, hey, I could teach myself how to use this camera.
What was the camera?
It was a Canon 5D Mark III, and I still have it to this day.
Okay.
It's around the corner. Yeah. Yeah. But I got started with the Canon 5D Mark III, and I had a song that was called Too Fast. And I shot the video for it, and I just fell in love with video ever since. I just thought it was so dope how you can like just create artwork around something that you already created and just take it to another level, you know? So that's how I got started into videography. And I spent a lot of time, years in that music video space, from doing my own music videos, even into traveling into like the secular world when it came to music videos. And that's when I quickly started to realize, like, you know what, music videos might not be the right direction for me,
Mm.
who I am as a believer, and the direction that God was leading me and my family. So that's when I started my journey to focus more on small businesses, and how I could use my services and the skills that I developed to help them tell their story, to help them acquire new customers and things of that nature.
I love that, man. I think it's so fun whenever you see kind of a journey unfold like that, where, you know, one thing starts as another. I think for me, even with podcasting, like it was really just answering a need. Like my pastor wanted to start a podcast. I learned how to do it, and then just piece by piece, and then all of a sudden it turns into a career. It's crazy how that happens sometimes. And I love that too. Especially music kind of comes from a little bit of that DIY mindset. Can you just take me into a little bit of like, what were some of those early days? Okay, so you buy the camera, right? You
Yep.
order it on Amazon, probably went to Best Buy if it's 2011, right? You unbox the camera, you're figuring everything. Like what were some of the early challenges that you had with like figuring out the gear?
Man, that's a great question. Kind of hard for me to answer now, being
Yeah.
like, in it for so long. But all I can really remember, bro, is just getting the camera, charging up the batteries, throwing it in there, and getting a SD card, and getting a few of my buddies to kind of help me, and just hitting record, bro. Just hitting record, getting
Yeah.
in front of. I didn't know anything about white balance, didn't know anything about composition. I was just like, "Man, this looks cool. Let's do it." Or, "This looks cool. Let's do it." And a lot of that video that I shot, I did shoot solo. There was a few scenes where I had some help, but a lot of it was solo and just figuring things out on my own.
Yeah.
But what I will say is, after I shot the video, I was looking at other videos of artists within the industry and was like, man, my video doesn't stack up to theirs. And that's what really started the quest for me to develop a good look. And that's kind of where I got the name for my company as well, Good Look Productions. It was what I became known for years later was the quality of the videos that I was able to produce.
Mhm.
And a lot of people would ask me, yo, how do you get it to look so good?
Yeah.
And, that first video and the quality of it made me a student of videography and a student of the fundamentals of videography to be able to achieve a good look.
So I love that. I think that's so important what you're talking about there because it's learning to be a student of your craft. And
Mm,
I think, as you're exploring all that, like, okay, so you're a student of the craft. What's the classroom? Like, where do you go to learn some of that? Because I think it's very obvious. People can see, listen, Jason's got one of the crispiest setups on the internet. Can we just be honest? All
appreciate it,
right.
bro.
There's a reason it's called Good Look Productions, somebody. All right. But
Let's go.
that wasn't happening in 2012, okay? The good look
Nah,
wasn't there. It may have been a look, but it may not have been a good look yet. So, what if you were a student of the craft,
yeah.
what was the classroom? Like, how did you go to get that information?
Man, I sought it out, bro. I didn't have any mentors. I didn't really learn much. I guess I had mentors from YouTube. That's why where class started for me was YouTube. It was just searching like the basics of how to shoot a good looking video.
Mhm,
And the first thing I stumbled across was composition, learning how to compose, learning about the rule of thirds and how powerful they are and how your brain and your eyes are automatically attracted to certain areas on the screen and how you can manipulate that to your benefit every time you turn the camera on.
mm,
And then from there, it just was like, okay, I got this composition piece down. So I started searching on why does my footage look blue or why does it look more orange? How come it doesn't look clear? And then I began to learn about white balance and the importance of white balance. And then, you nail that. After you nail that from a couple YouTube videos and searching it out, then you come across the next obstacle, which was really exposure, right? Sometimes my videos are too bright, sometimes they're too dark. How do I get it just right? Or what do I use to gauge that? The camera has several tools, but man, some guys do it this way, some guys do it this way.
mhm.
And so I would say YouTube,
Yeah.
trial and error, and practice is what was my classroom.
Yeah, and I love that because trial and error it really is one of the best teachers. With
Mm,
anything that you're doing, whether it's in marketing, business, doesn't matter. When you just try things, like you said, you just press record, you just get started. I mean, what were some of those earliest mistakes that you made that you then learned from that you're able to improve and build upon? What were some of those those early mistakes that maybe you can save some of our listeners from?
yeah, I would say, one of the earliest mistakes that I made was not understanding, exposure,
Mm,
and, that's where the good look comes from. I mean, there's other parts, but I think exposure, and I don't mean exposure like finding people, I mean exposure on how bright or how dark the image is.
sure.
And understanding what to expose for every time I pick up the camera, that is what really changed everything for me. And having an understanding of that, which I'm just gonna put it out there, is skin tones. Like if you know how to expose
Mhm,
for skin, if you do some deep diving into like false color is a tool that you can use to really nail not only your skin tones but the overall image.
mhm.
But exposure was the biggest thing, bro. Once I learned how to expose my image correctly, it was game over from there because my work stood out compared to others within my area, and it made me more sought after.
So I love that. So beyond kind of the technical skills, there's the business side of it.
Yep.
I want you to walk me through what was your kind of your first paying client? Like, how did you first put yourself out there beyond, okay, I'm doing music videos for myself, like I'm connecting with with some of my buddies, like we're collaborating, to, okay, I'm going to start working with small businesses? Like, how did you put yourself out there? Because I really, for our audience, I want to speak specifically to, there's a beginner. They're just like you were 10 years ago. They've got that camera in hand. They've figured out some of the basics of the technical aspect. They have their own good look, so to speak. And they go, okay, how do I then begin to monetize this? How do I take a next step? So, what were those first steps into working with paid clients?
I would say that before I even got to paid clients, when it came to working with businesses, I was doing free work, and it can be kind of frowned upon, but that opened the door for those paid situations.
Yeah.
So I started out with a friend of mine. He had a car dealership, and I was like, "Hey, bro, I would love to shoot a commercial for your car dealership." He didn't have any video work, so he was like, "Sure." And I decided just to shoot it to show him what I could do.
Yeah.
And then from there, he loved it and hired me for a couple other jobs to shoot for his business. And then we had friends that were starting their own business that was like, "Hey, I saw his video. I need you to shoot a video for me as well." And that's how it really got started off. Landing paid clients was, it started off with free work, and then that free work turned into, well, hey, how much do you charge for this service?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You mentioned that sometimes it's frowned upon, and I think what you speak to is really important. I mean, would you still recommend that today? That, hey, starting out for a videographer, hey, you're probably going to have to pick up a few, free gigs to build up your portfolio, so to speak. I mean, would that be your first recommendation, even now?
I would say my first recommendation, that would be a part of the process. My first recommendation would be to find out, really think hard about what you want to shoot,
Mm.
who your ideal client is. And once you have a good understanding of who that is and your why behind that market or that niche, I would then say, yes, start shooting free videos or reach out to people within that niche to start shooting free videos for them that you can then reuse to showcase to others within that niche to land paid gigs.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, videography is, it's so wide scoping. I mean, there's everything from, I mean, I know videographers that are fully dedicated to real estate, just doing house tours, or whether it's drone shots, internal stuff. I mean, there's videographers focused on, restaurants that are maybe, short form creators that go in and do things for high-end restaurants, that type of thing. How do you discover your niche? So maybe there's a videographer right now, like, they're beginning those steps. Is there a particular way? Is it just experimentation? Like, how did you discover your niche? I don't know that I even know what your particular niche is, and maybe talk about how you sort of nestled into that corner of the videography universe, you know?
Yeah, I would say the way you discover your niche is really finding out what you are passionate about. You know what I mean?
Mm,
I think that's the best way to find your niche, is to focus on something that you're really passionate about. Like if it's sports, then you might want to just stick in that realm because you're passionate about sports.
mm,
Um, and when it comes to me and my business, I would say it took me some time to actually figure out exactly who I want to focus on. And there's times now where I'm still like, your niche kind of changes it, and it can go even deeper, and you
yeah,
can be even more specific and dial it in to, like prior to this conversation, we are speaking about, where my main focus now is towards like keynote speakers, or specifically keynote speakers of like nonprofits or Christian based keynote speakers and
sure.
nonprofit organizations is where my heart is at, because it all started with music and it started with Christian hip hop. And I know my purpose here on this earth is to help to spread the good news and to spread the gospel. And I would like to use the talents that God has given me to help others do the same. So my niche really started with brands,
Mhm.
and even helping keynote speakers, I feel like, is helping them establish their brand. And it's still brand based, but now I'm even dialing it in even more to my actual calling and purpose in life, So if that answers the question, I think that's where you should start with your niche, is knowing your purpose, what you've been put here to do, and using the gifts that God has given you
Yeah.
to fully dive into that and pursue that.
100%. I mean, I definitely think that there's a spiritual element to it, for those listening, that are believers and followers of Christ. I mean, trusting the Holy Spirit, being able to be guided and directed, even in a
Mm,
business opportunity. And I think sometimes, discovering a niche, it really comes down to experimentation. When
it
you
does.
just always recommend. It's so funny. I'll tell you a story. I had a young leader that I passed the school of ministry that I used to direct. I passed it off to about 7 or 8 years ago, and one of the things he asked me on my departure, he was like, "Hey, Pastor Brad, like, how do I know, which opportunities to say yes or no to?" And I was like,
Mhm.
"What are you talking about? You say yes to everything." I was like, when you're young and you're just getting started, whether you're in ministry or whether you're beginning videography, guess what? Opportunity is your only currency when you get started, right?
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
and so you have to say yes to some of those early opportunities, because here's the power of that. When you say yes to those opportunities, you may end up finding a passion and finding something that you fall in love with. But if
Yeah.
you are so protective of that yes, if you are so protective of, okay, well, this has got to be a paying client to get started, you may be closing a door that could open up a chain reaction for the next phase of your career. And so I would just even say that. I mean, for beginners, whatever it is that you're doing, say yes to those opportunities, because that usually is, your currency. And I love that. I love that you're following that lead right now. So,
Yeah, I would just to second that. As a beginner, that's exactly what I did. When the opportunities presented themselves, I said yes, and you'll find along the way where though certain clients that you may encounter or certain businesses might not align with who you are, and you quickly begin to realize, "Hey, no, this opportunity isn't for me, but this opportunity is for me." So, say yes at the beginning, but you'll be led to where you're supposed to be by the people you encounter and the projects you take on.
100%. I mean, add value, right? I
Mhm.
mean, over
Yeah.
deliver. When you make yourself indispensable, like, that's what leads to other things, to where you make it impossible for that client to even imagine doing business without you. That's
Exactly.
that's the kind of thing that's compelling. And I think that's the shift, right, from being a creator, someone who's maybe into the artistic form of videography and making all the sequences put together, like all the editing, all this. Like, I feel like I'm constantly learning something new every single day. Nowhere near on Jason's level, but what I'm realizing is, man, when you show up and you deliver value, for
Mm.
a customer, for a client. That's what moves the needle more than anything else. Now, let's talk maybe take a step from maybe some of that free work, and then when you go to pricing out those first clients, I think a lot of beginners have that question, like, how do I even know what I'm worth? How do I even calculate, like, what's a fair price for, this particular video, depending on the project, of course, depending on the scope, but maybe walk me through some of those things that you thought about. Like, how did you set your prices?
Yeah, at the very beginning, setting my prices was really I didn't take the right route. It was based on like, hey, what are other people charging? And I guess I'll just start there, So I remember starting out shooting music videos at like $300, and you find yourself you what typically happen is you find yourself in a job and you're doing so much, and then you realize, hold on, like my time is worth much more than this, and the product that I'm producing is worth much more than this, and you'll gradually begin to raise your rates. That's how I did it. I gradually began to raise my rates as I was doing different jobs, and I saw the amount of work that it took to complete them. But then you get to a whole different level of pricing when you realize the value that your service provides a business. I've had ministry in Fort Myers, Florida, that I shot a video for their gala event. They're a nonprofit organization. They help women who are caught in sex trafficking get out of that lifestyle and get them rehabilitated. And they hired me to shoot a job for them, and I shot it. It came out great. They loved everything. And about 6 months or so later, I reached out just to say, "Hey, how's it going for them? And how did everything turn out?" And that video that we shot raised them 60K in one day. You know what I mean?
Wow.
And that like blew my mind and showed
Mm.
me, okay, I charged this amount, but I was able to raise this company this amount. I have another client that I work for where we did a video strategy of 3 videos for his hot sauce company. And it doubled his annual revenue with from the previous year, those 3 videos.
Yeah.
And that made me really realize, like, wow, when it comes to pricing myself, I need to find a new way to price myself because the value that I'm adding to these businesses is so much more than what how I'm valuing myself.
Yeah. Ha
Yeah.
Is that typically how you would answer, like, a pricing objection? I'm sure you've gotten asked this question before, "Hey, well, what's your hourly rate?"
Well, really, the way I respond to that now is you really have to set the frame when you're having a conversation with the client from the get go.
Mhm.
Um, which is just letting them know, "Hey, I'm here to learn about your business and to see where it is that you wanna go and, where you're currently at, and the problems that you feel that you have that are
Mm.
keeping you from getting to where you wanna be."
Right.
And it's more so of instead of positioning myself as a instead of positioning myself as a service-based business, I like to position myself as a partner, like a doctor would. You go to a doctor's office, they don't have a set price on what they're going to do. They're going to listen to your problems. They're going to listen to what you have going on and
Right.
come up with a prescription that's going to help you get better. So that's typically how I go about it. And when you set that frame, you just let them know, like, hey, maybe we're I just wanna see if we're even a good fit to move forward,
Yeah.
and to go from there.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, so beginners listening to this, I mean, we've kind of walked through the journey a little bit. Like, hey, go ahead, dive in, take that first step. Learn your craft, dig in. And then from there, hey, experiment, take on free work, build up your portfolio. Begin to kind of get well rounded, and then you'll begin to discover your passion, and then you can kind of begin to pivot into some of those paying roles and paid clients. I mean, from the business side, I mean, if you could go back and maybe one or two missteps, or maybe some things that you wish you would have done differently early on, that like what were some of those early mistakes on the business side? Did you learn from that you if you had to go back, oh, I wish I would have done this a little bit different.
Yeah, I think from a business perspective, it's, like a succession plan in a sense, having an out point eventually, and understanding how the back end of your business, systems, processes, SOPs play a major part in bringing other people on board because you can only one man band it for so long.
Yeah.
So that I would say is a big piece from a business perspective is having things in place, having a system and processes in place that allow you to bring other people on board, that will allow you to eventually scale. Those are things that I didn't know just starting out that I wish I knew, and also having a better background and stronger background when it comes to sales as well as marketing.
Yeah.
I feel like at times as videographers, you can be so focused on like the creative aspect and creating. I have in my past
Yeah.
that you kind of lose sight of what's actually going on around you in the world we live in. Everywhere you go, you're being marketed to. You're being pitched to everywhere if you pay attention. And likewise, you have to figure out how to pitch your services to your ideal clients as well.
Yeah. So, I mean, before we get too far ahead, I think it's important that we not skip one step, which is okay. We're gonna go out and we're gonna find these clients. Where do I find clients? Like when you're just getting started, what's maybe some of the best places to reach out, to network, to connect maybe with small businesses or your particular niche that needs videography work?
I would say if you were just started out, and let's say you follow some of the earlier steps that we put in place, you figured out your niche and who you want to target, you've shot some free videos, so you have somewhat of a portfolio. The next step I would take is to reach out to like just your contacts. Like I think at times you can overlook all the people that you currently know on Facebook or in your phone. Hey guys, this is what I'm currently doing. This is the name of my business. This is the direction that I'm going. Do you know anyone that might be in need of my services? If so, this is where they can contact me, reach out to me here. I
Yeah.
think that's the first place to start. You can easily overlook your own network and be branching out into the world, and you have people that are close to you that already know you, that already trust you, that would be willing to do business with you.
Your network is your net worth. I know it's a
So true.
cliche, we've heard it, but like 100%. What about, do you early on, did you do any networking on things like, I don't know if Upwork was around at the time, Upwork, Fiverr, LinkedIn. Have you seen any success for young videographers going that direction?
Yeah, I think there is a lot of opportunity utilizing those platforms, and that's where you kind of get I would say get dirty, going to like Fiverr, for instance. You can use Fiverr to hire people to target your target clients. That's a step that I've used in the past that have worked. When I've shot like stuff for that hot sauce company, I've used people on Fiverr to reach out. Hey, can you locate every hot sauce company within this radius for me and provide me with their contact information so I can do the dirty work outreach and see if I can build connections that way. But Fiverr, LinkedIn, social media work, social media DMs, even to the point of reaching out to your target market on Instagram and saying, "Hey, if you haven't started doing free videos yet, hey, I would love to leave a voice message rather than a text message, like a voice memo. Hey, I've seen your work. It's really good. I would love to shoot a free video for you. If you have the time, let's set a meeting where we can talk about it and go about it that way." I've had success with that in the past as well, developing an actual script and using that to reach out to people. So there are a lot of ways that you can, outside of your own network, reach out to others just by using hashtags and searching for those people within your niche.
I love that so much. I've heard you say before on your podcast where you're talking about like, drawing from, the hip hop days of like you memorize your lyrics. Like you would never think about walking on stage or walking over a performance and like, looking at your phone or something, unless you're Drake, like doing a
Yeah,
freestyle or something like that.
exactly.
But like you're going to learn the lyrics. And so in the same way as a businessman, you're always like rehearsing that script. You're thinking about
Yes.
that elevator pitch so that when you meet that high-end executive or you meet that Christian influencer or that nonprofit leader, like you're geared, you're ready to go. I mean, maybe rehearse that for a second. Talk just if we could role play for a moment. Let's say you and I we meet at a conference and you find out that I'm leading a large nonprofit. All right, Jason, like what would be your pitch? Go.
Yeah, so at Good Look Productions, we don't just shoot videos, we deliver businesses actual attainable results. What we do is we capture your story to help others attract them to your business so that you can get these business results. And that's typically along the ways that it goes.
Mhm.
But when it comes to your pitch, it really depends on the client as well. It depends on where they're at and what service it is that you're trying to market to them.
Mhm.
So it all depends, bro.
What if I told you that your voice could be the most powerful asset in your business? And what better way to use your voice than starting a podcast? In fact, a comprehensive podcast strategy could be the missing link in your business's marketing mix. But how do you get started, and how do you make sure that it actually works? That's where my team at Made by Varsity can help. Made by Varsity is a full-service podcast agency that helps brands and entrepreneurs establish trust, build connections, and grow their business. So whether you need coaching and consulting to get set up, or you need turnkey solutions to manage and market your show from week to week, we've got you covered. Just head over to madebyvarsity.com and book a call with me today. All right, back to the episode. So what do you feel like separates the average videographer from somebody who's great?
Number one is being able to show others within your niche the results that you have gained for people in their niche. Like being able to show people that, hey, I've done this and I've attained results for these people, that separates you from everybody else. And also seeking to understand where your ideal client is at rather than just pitching, getting away
Yeah.
from just pitching to um prescribing, you know?
Yeah. I love that. I've heard you say it this way too, that it's not even always about the quality. I think one of the things, one of the things you didn't mention there was, well, you've got to get a better camera, or you've got to
Yeah,
up
yeah.
your craft, or you got to up your skills. That's not the thing that separates good to great, right? The thing that separates good to great is, okay, you're not just talking about quality, but are you providing solutions and answering problems that a business owner actually has, right?
Yes.
Like meeting those expectations. And I love what you said, just being that partner. I mean, what are some of the discovery questions? Because that's important, right? The sales aspect of it. You're
Yes.
talking to a potential client. What are some of those like essential questions, non-negotiables that you would ask in a sales call, in a potential call, that help you sort of uncover what the client's needs actually are?
I would say the biggest and really the first one is so can you tell me about the problems that you're currently having within your business? And they may say, you'll come across clients that will say, we don't have any problems, everything is fine.
Sure.
So at that point, that's when you say, okay, well, what area of your business isn't working at the level that you would like it to?
Sure, because you called me for some reason, right? So
Exactly. Exactly.
yeah.
Yeah, so that's one of the first questions to get into. And then it's really listening, bro. It's not so much about it's asking questions according to what they're telling you. You know what I mean? Being
Mhm.
able to dive deep into what they're telling you. So it's not like there is a set script, but there are some things that you want to listen for that can help you guide the question. So once you can really figure out their problem, where they're trying to go. Another question that you need to know is when it comes to their customers, okay, so how much revenue does your average customer bring your business? That's a great question that you need to know as a beginner.
Yep.
That way, when it comes to them reaching a certain revenue goal, you know, okay, how many customers do I need to help them bring on, and how are we going to do that? Another question is, what is your desired state? Like 12 months from now, let's say that we have implemented this video strategy and everything has worked out perfectly for you. What has happened to make that take place?
Mm.
And and then have them speak forth like, oh, well, this area of the business is functioning at its optimal ability. I've gotten 20 clients, and now you're starting to get some of the things out of that person that they're seeking and that they need, and just getting them to open up. Because a lot of times sales calls, I would say the hardest part is to get people to lower their guard and open up about the problems that they're having and where they want to be. Sometimes you really have to find a way to position yourself as, hey, I'm here to help you. And I know that I can help you. I'm not here to sell you. That's not what I'm here to do. I'm honestly here to help you get to the next level. I
Mm.
know I can. I've done it for others.
Yeah.
Um, do you trust me enough to tell me what the problems are so we can figure out that plan to implement?
So you at one point made the leap into starting your own business. I don't know if you did videographer. Maybe speak to maybe someone who has experience in videography. Maybe they've been doing it on staff at a company, or they're in house somewhere, maybe even on a church production team, something of that nature, and they are feeling led. They're feeling the green light to launch out, to become a freelancer, to start their
Mm.
own business. What would be some of the step by step, kind of the tricks of the trade, some things, best practices that they should be thinking about as they launch out on their own?
Yeah, just to circle back on some of the things that we mentioned earlier, it would be building the back end of your business, having SOPs and processes in place. Like those are things that you can get set up before you venture out and take
Yeah,
that step. Obviously, establishing your LLC or your sole proprietorship, however your business is going to be operating, getting your EIN, your business bank account, and also knowing what you're going to do when it comes to like your profit, understanding taxes. Like those are basic things that I would look into before venturing out and
yeah.
jumping out. And having that kind of grounded and established,
Mhm.
and also, just to double back to it, is sales, bro. Really, sales and marketing.
Yeah,
Uh, Having a plan in place on how you are going to do your outreach day to day, how you're going to structure your sales calls. I would say those are the biggest things.
yeah,
Because number one, you have to be able to reach those people. You have to be able to manage your business, make
for
sure
sure.
you're making enough income to sustain your business, and having a plan when it comes to like your actual revenue, what you're going to bring in and how you're going to price yourself.
And you can start out as a side hustle,
Definitely.
building that up, building up your clientele. I actually, I actually love the way that Dave Ramsey talks about this, talking about making the leap into entrepreneurialism. He always says like, hey, some people go, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna make the jump." It's almost like jumping off of a cliff, but it's like, actually making the leap could be like pulling the boat up to the dock, and that it's just a step, that the leap
Yeah.
doesn't have to be this high risk maneuver, because if you work the side hustle long enough, it's like pulling the boat up to the dock, to where when you make that step, it's just the next right step. It's a natural step. It doesn't have to be this kind of risky entrepreneurial move. And I think that's sort of glorified too, right? In our culture,
It is.
entrepreneurialism
It
is
is.
kind of having its heyday, okay, we risked it all and, invested everything into this business. And it's like, we can be smart about it too. We can be wise about it, especially if you have family and people who rely on that salary. So taking that step by step and being wise about it, is key.
Yeah, I think so. I think that is key. And also, I would say one of the biggest things that you can do is find a mentor.
Mhm.
Find someone that is currently doing what it is that you want to do, especially if they're in the exact same niche that it is that you're pursuing, and just try to make that connection with them so that you can have a firm footing when you do take that step.
Yeah,
It's always smart to find someone that's already
yeah,
within your niche, doing what you're doing, learning from them as much as you can
yeah.
before you go out and do it yourself.
So I love that you talked about, taking that next step, and you just took a really cool next step in your career. Really see you making big strides with Good Look Production, and specifically the Good Look podcast. I want you to talk a little bit about what's that journey been like. Of okay, for many years, almost a decade, you've been the guy behind the camera. Now you're stepping in front of it. You're hosting your own show. You're interviewing other creatives. I mean, what's that process been like? What led you to kind of take that step? And then what have been some of those lessons learned so far?
It's been really awesome, man. It's been amazing. I've said it a few times on the podcast and to others, but it's almost like a therapy session in a sense, because you get to talk about like how you started, where you came from, and you get to hear where other people within your same industry, how they started, where they came from to get to where they're at. And it's almost like, iron sharpening iron. You're gleaning from each other, learning from each other, and just the experience of a podcast, it's a great experience. But when it comes to stepping in front of the camera, I feel like I'm just giving people a platform that I wish I had for myself at a time, you know what I mean? So it's almost like one hand is washing the other. Yes, it does help to create some exposure for me and my brand and what I do, but I'm also giving other creatives a platform to speak on what they do and how they can maybe acquire their next client or take their business to the next level.
Mm,
And it's also been great to expand my network as well and meet some great people that do creative things and great things and that are more talented than me in certain areas and bringing them on board to certain projects that I'm doing with my company. So, I mean, that's been great. I've never had an issue with being in front of the camera, being a recording artist, shooting music videos
sure.
for myself. Like, that has not been an issue, but actually, facilitating a podcast and helping others to, speak about who they are, how they got started,
Mm.
and get their message out there, it's been really good, man. It's been, beneficial for them and for myself.
Is this kind of your first time interviewing, other people, other personalities, like, in
Yes,
that hot
yes,
seat? That's good.
yes,
What
yes, yes,
tell
yes,
tell me
yes.
about that experience, like, what's been maybe some of the early challenges or what you've 'cause I know you've got a few, episodes under your belt. What have you already learned about interviewing guests?
I've learned to focus a lot more on listening.
Yeah,
And because there are certain points in the conversation where you can dive deeper that will give the viewer more context or more information on what they need to do to get to where they're going. Um, as well as preparation.
yeah,
That is one thing that I'm learning to be better at when it comes to preparing for those interviews and
100%.
doing research on the people that I'm gonna have on the podcast to know where I'm gonna go with the conversation, which has definitely helped me in a lot of areas as well, bro. I would say that for sure.
Yeah, I love that. And I mean, like you said, you're taking those strides into creating more content for yourself, building a personal brand. I mean, how do you balance that of delivering the client work, right, versus okay, the creative input that it really takes to build out that personal brand? I mean, how do you sort of, I guess, walk that tightrope? Because that's something that I find challenging at times. It's like, okay, I know I need to work on my personal brand over here, but I've got this stack of other, client needs that has to happen over here. Like
Yeah.
how do you walk that tightrope and manage that tension?
The way that I found success with it, like with it when it comes to my podcast, I've only released 6 episodes so far.
Mhm.
But when we got started filming in January, I've got 16 under my belt. So in January,
Absolutely. Good
I
for
just
you,
went I
man.
just went heavy, right? So now I know I have released
Everybody
6.
listen to this man.
Yeah,
Get your
yeah.
episodes in the can. My
Yeah,
goodness.
get them done. So I've got 10 that I work in throughout the week. Like, I'll edit it, boom, set it up on YouTube so it's ready to release. So I know I'm 10 weeks out. That gives me 2 months and 2 weeks. And then now I can bring in more people onto my podcast at a slower rate, like 3 a month. My goal is just to get 52 in, get a whole year's worth done within 2025. So, I would say just get a head start. That way, you can formulate a process on how you're gonna edit your podcast and how you're gonna release it, come up with thumbnails and all of that, and once you kinda have that set in stone, it becomes very easy for you to manage delivering the podcast, delivering my personal brand,
Mm.
material, and managing client work at the same time.
Yeah, 100%. And man, you've got those trailers dialed. I
Yeah,
mean,
I appreciate it,
I
bro.
I know that's it's a really popular tactic now to create, trailers of, best moments and then kind of leave that cliffhanger hook at, popularized by, Diary of a CEO. But
Yeah,
bro, you got I'm I'm already hooked in. Okay, I'm listening. Here we go. I'm in. I'm
yeah.
in with the good look. So but
I appreciate that, man.
yeah, yeah, you've got it dialed. I love that. I'd love for you to talk a little bit about like I thought it was so cool. One of your first episodes, You actually had your wife on the podcast. Talk to me a little bit about what does her love and support mean to you as a creator, as a husband, as an entrepreneur? What does that mean to you?
Man, I'll tell you, bro, it means everything. Because number one, just sometimes in this entrepreneur space or being a creator, um, it can sometimes feel like a lonely place. It can. And just knowing that somebody's there in your corner supporting you and rooting you on and cheering for you is a great feeling. It's a great feeling, especially when it's someone that's really close to you. My wife is my best friend. She's my other half, you know? And not only that, but her taking the time to make sure everything else within our home and within our family is functioning, knowing everything that I have on my plate to execute, and her just being there, taking care of the kids, taking care of everything that needs to get done while I'm focusing on the business and everything that goes along with Good Look Productions. It's priceless, man.
Mm,
It's really priceless. And her support with me taking the leap into this venture, into this journey of entrepreneurship, and just saying, honey, I got your back and I know that you can do it. And I know this is what God has called you to do.
mm.
It's priceless, bro. It's priceless. I can't put any words on it. We were just having a talk before this call about some things within the business that need to get done. And I was just telling her, like, babe, yo, I got this, and this, and I need to get done. And, her response is, yo, how can I help you?
Come
You
on.
know? And that's like, yo, bro, sometimes you can, as a man, you can put a lot of pressure on yourself to be provider and so many things, but to know that, man, I have a helpmeet that is there by my side to say, hey, how can I help you? How can I take some of this off your plate? Or even bounce ideas off of to get clarity.
Mm.
It's invaluable, bro. It's priceless, priceless. She's priceless. She's, man, the greatest gift that God has given me, outside of salvation, is my wife.
That's powerful, man. What do you hope will be the legacy of Good Look Productions for your family?
More than anything, the legacy that I hope Good Look Productions leaves for my family is anything is possible to him that believes. And also to, man, change the world. Your voice matters to change the world, not to be afraid of the calling that God has called you to, and to pursue it and to go out there and to do it. Um, that's more than anything. I haven't had any entrepreneurs in my family at all. I'm really making the shift for the Hilton family, period. And it's really to show my daughters and my son everything that I fell short on within entrepreneurship, to teach them that at a young age, so that when they step into their own business or what they're going to do, they've been prepared. My parents didn't have the opportunity to teach me sales, to teach me marketing, to teach me lead generation, to teach me how to manage a business, to teach me SOPs and processes. But I have the opportunity to instill that in them when they're young, and for them to take that to wherever they're gonna take it to when I'm no longer here.
Yeah, and that's what it's all about, you know? I mean,
Yeah.
when we talk about that journey of what it means to make it, so many people define it by so many different things, but when you're leading a family and when you're showing up as dad and when you're showing up as a husband, man, kudos to you just for building a business that not only reaches, people and reaches clients, but building a business that's healthy, that is, making a difference in your family's lives, and also doing it in a balanced way, doing it in a healthy way, and inviting them into the process. I'm sure that support is just invaluable, man, and that's just so powerful. Thank you for sharing that story. Tell us a little bit about how can we stay connected to you? I know you got a few things going on right now collaboration calls. I think you're kind of, building out a couple of different offers. Maybe people are looking at the good look right now and they're going, yo, I need Jason to come get me right. Like how can people stay connected with you and maybe learn a little bit from you? What maybe even beginning videographers or people who want to work with you.
Yeah, for sure. You can find me on Instagram at I am Jason A. Hilton. And that there you can see a lot of my work and you can contact me that way. The website for my company, Good Look Productions, is www.goodlookproductions.com. Or you can check me out on YouTube at I am Jason A. Hilton, where you'll see my podcast. And if you just go to one of those videos on my podcast, there's several different ways that you can contact me there in the description to set up a call and see how I would be able to help you with whatever it is that you need.
I love it, man. That's awesome. Hey, any final thoughts before we head out?
Brad, I just want to say, man, you're looking just as crispy as me over there, bro. So don't beat yourself up too
Yeah.
bad. I love this setup, man. I love what you got going on. And I'm just extremely grateful, bro, for the opportunity to be here on your platform and to speak into the lives of those that watch Making It on Varsity. So thank you for the opportunity, bro. And however I can help you with what you got going on, don't be afraid to reach out as well, bro.
I appreciate it, man. I gotta pop through the Queen City really soon. I gotta come check out the studio, so learn a thing or two. It'll be fun.
That'll be dope, bro. I can't wait till you come. When you come, make sure you link up with me and we'll make it happen.
100%. All right, bro. Appreciate you.
Yeah. Likewise, bro. Peace.
Hey fam, thanks so much for joining us on Making Varsity. If you enjoyed this week's content, make sure to tap that subscribe button, share it with a friend, and turn on your notifications so you never miss an episode. For more resources, make sure to check out the description below and feel free to drop us a comment. I love you guys, and I'll see you next time.